Hey guys, Fat Buddy Cat here. How you doing? Today, we're going to turn microbikology upside down. We're breaking all the rules. Alright guys, the reason we're starting off in this position is because we're changing out the rubber. Alright, we're going to put something that's going to provide a little bit more traction, a little bit more stability in the corners, and possibly a little bit more natural suspension. Alright guys, I know we've been here before, so I'm just going to be switching all the hardware, we'll call it, over to this wheel. Alright, now what this is, these are the black steel wheels, okay, from Go Power Sports. These fit on the Doodlebugs, the MM80s, the new Colemans, the Motovoxes, whatever. And the tires are from ombwarehouse.com. Okay, and these are the Tonkeet 145/76. All right, I told you before, make sure to ask when you order them. Some of them are narrower and smaller, like these. Okay, sometimes that's a good thing. Tonkeet. The only Tonkeet we're gonna have is to keep a ton of chicks away from this mini bike when we're done with it. Alright, now you can already tell old Fat Buddy Cat was in on these bearings, but pulled those out. I got some new PGNs to slap in. Wow. Just like that, guys. We just made a huge difference on this super little mini bike. Okay? We're going to get a whole lot better tracking with this. It's going to be safer all the way around. And probably more comfortable too. Doesn't look bad either. But we got other things to do. Alright guys, this next modification is going to be a little bit for the motor and also a little bit for our friends at Tampa Boys Customs. Alright, so some of you might have guessed it. It's the orange gas tank, okay? This thing's got to go. Reason being is this is just a live feed of gas going into our carburetor, alright? Which eventually can find its way into the motor, maybe past the rings and down into your crankcase. Now whether or not this carb will let that happen, I'm not sure, but every time we surface something, guys, I'm making a mess. I'm getting gas all over me, all over the counter, you know what I mean, all over my nice wooden block. So we're going to get rid of this tank, okay, which is already a problem. You can see I have this nut and bolt now because the threads are stripped out on the ear. This one, the bolt is almost the entire length of the lobe, okay, and the one in the back, now that we have this linkage on and stuff, it's pretty close to impossible. It's not absolutely impossible, but it's not a fun angle to work with. And where these things are already coming loose, I might have to take it off at some point. I don't want to put Loctite on it. Let's get it out of there. Alright, well, I'm standing here with the fuel line that's back-fed with 93 octane. I'm going to open up this $9 Briggs & Stratton gas flow shutoff valve. Can you believe that? There you go. Dang. Okay, now we kept our clip, alright, to hold our gas line, so we're nice, we're under there, right? I can spin this valve around, alright, and we'll run it up to another source. In order to locate our source and connect it to the motor, we're going to have to connect the motor to the bike. I just have those bolts sitting on there loose, holding the motor where it needs to be. But before we do that, we got this nice chain guard from GoPowersports.com. see if we can't get this on somehow. I already know we got to cut it somewhere. Alright, now this looks familiar. I'm going to say if it works over there, it's going to work over here. The only thing we're going to do different is try to kick it back with some sweet angle action. Next, I'll take it outside, hit it with a little primer, a little bit of paint. Okay, so while that primer is drying out there and we're waiting to put a coat of paint on, we're going to go ahead and mount up the jack shaft and everything, alright? Just like we're going to run the bike. And then, once everything's mounted, the motor's bolted down, we're ready to move forward, that paint's dry, we can bring it over here and we can do what we have to do to get it on. First thing, get that rear chain on there while this plate can still move. Next is the spacers, the key, and the clutch. Then we're going to put the front chain on. Alright. And then we're going to find where this needs to be in order to have the right tension on the chain. Alright, now that we know our alignment is going to be okay with our rear chain in the plate, okay, because we have a little bit of wiggle room, not much, okay, but once we know where we like to be, everything's flush, go ahead and tighten the motor down. Now we take the clutch off again. Our plate isn't tight, the engine is. We got some orange paint drying, we'll give it time. So while this is doing that, it would be nice to have this thing free spinning so that we can hook up our throttle cable, right? But we're also going to need that fuel source. We got just the thing. And with a little bit of effort, some Tygon fuel line, our $9 fuel shut off, and this filter right here has a 1/4 inch intake on one side, and then the outlet is the correct size for our Tygon. So nice and clean, easy to use, doesn't get in the way of the throttle at all. Alright, we even took some black hose, cut it down, and nice and clean so we don't scratch our paint. Oh yeah. And like I said, I'm going to be trying to use the thumb throttle on here, so we're going to get rid of the twist job and run a fresh cable. Alright, I went ahead and I just installed these nice hot orange grips. Alright, these are just some of those $5 grips I was telling you I got off Amazon. These things are going to be great on this little bike. And here is our linkage. Nice and smooth. Nice return. Okay, full throttle. I already know I got to adjust the idle up, so we're getting all the way back. Next, I think we can get this on there. That came out nice, huh guys? Alright, we're getting that idle set. A little high. I'll let it warm up. That's better. Okay, the next part of this thing is going to be a little bit tricky, guys. We have to get this on, alright? But this is going to take the place of 2 of our washers. Okay? So, that means when this is going on, it's going to take place of these 2 washers, alright? So, those bolts are going to have to be loose. That bolt's going to be inaccessible behind the clutch, and this one we're going to have to use to pretty much put the chain on, tighten this thing, kind of set it where it needs to be. See what I'm saying? And then get it on there. And we're going to have to be able to tighten this one first. You know, there's going to be no other way to get to it. So, I guess we could try like on a short socket or something up underneath. But even then, no, because that has to be tightened, then the clutch goes on, and then these get tightened after the tension's pulled and it's in place. And we'll be contending with this. Okay, so we're going to focus on that one right there. Okay, I have this thing where it needs to be, where I'm going to have plenty of tension up here, plenty of tension back there. Our tensioner is still completely forward as well. Okay, I know I can get this on. It's a little bit tricky, but I can do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this bolt right now. Alright, I'm going to be done with it, I hope. Now with the clutch off, we're going to tighten this one here. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on my tension back here. I can pull that out down here still, alright? So as that tensioner comes forward, it'll tighten that up. This should be fine. This is exactly where I took the chain off. I should be able to put the chain back on. Now, up here, I'm going to take these 2 bolts off. Alright, like I said, we're going to be replacing the washers with this sideboard meat right here. Okay, on my bottom 2 bolts, I'm going to be using lock washers. On my top 2, since we're going to be using the chain guard from Go Power Sports, I know these things like to vibrate a little bit, alright? It's just the nature of the beast. So, we're going to be using some blue Permatex. Okay, this is a gel. Same thing as Loctite, basically. It's not chapstick. Don't mess that up. Alright, and you're just going to hand tighten these. Make sure you leave yourself plenty of room so that you can just hang your chain guard up there. Okay, something like that. Okay, now you can put your clutch on. Alright, and you want to make sure that you're pretty much, you want to be seated all the way, okay? So you might have to tighten those up a little bit. But don't worry, because you can get back there with a wrench and loosen them up when we're installing the chain guard. Last thing before the chain guard is tightening the clutch, okay? We're looking good here. Looking perfect back there. Get that thing on. Dang! That thing's looking pretty boss. With those grips. Ooh la la. Quick update for you. I took this thing out late last night and we're having issues spooling up our RPM early enough. Top end, great. But getting there, not in this yard. So I went and I switched back to the stock springs. Alright? So, wait till you see what it does, guys. Alright, guys, let's warm this thing up. Turn our fuel on. Flip that switch. Little choke. Well, that's that for POV. I'm not sure if you guys can tell the difference, but I sure can. If you go back and compare it to the other video, I think you will notice that this thing is not lagging the way it was before. We're able to take it, above and beyond and still produce a little more power. Okay, now it's still a 79cc, all right. The stock springs made a big difference. The 22s, they were great, like I said up top. They were making nice RPM, but you got to get off of this thing in the corners and get back on it, and you got to build the RPM up kind of gradually. Otherwise, you're just following the plug and putting too much gas in the motor, and it can't keep up. So with the stock ones, it's able to metabolize the fuel, and use the air to its advantage. I have not messed around with the exhaust. I still have the Mini 91 on there. I haven't put a trumpet end or anything on yet, but we got some other things to play with. Alright guys, and I got a couple more things to add to this bike, but I gotta go to the gas station, fuel up, mow the lawn, clear the runway. We'll get some action shots. Alright guys, plenty more to come. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later today. Know what it is?